Okay. Been wanting to do this for quite a while. Never really found the time, but now I have. Good morning, dieharders. Who's ready to live for your diehard? This is the S&W experience. I am your host, the Shogun, and on this episode, there'll be, some usual talk, your movies, TV, comics, and such. But before all that, I kind of wanted to talk about a different topic. I haven't done one of these solo casts in a while, so bear with me. I didn't plan much, just got a bit of different opinions. I wanted to ask the question of what makes a man a man? I saw this advert a while back, calling Black Label. Had a dude chasing down a black horse, whatever, and it was like the phrase, be a man. I started thinking, what does that mean? I don't know what it means, to be a man, be manlyship, but in today's day and age, what does the phrase be a man mean? What is a man anyway? What is a man? What defines a man? How do you define what makes a man a man? Is it purely a scientific thing? You're just born a man and that's what you are from jump till the end? Is it a mental thing? I think, therefore I am. I believe, or something you identify. It's like I identify as male, so I am male. Is it, something you do? It's like a job, when you wake up a man, go to work a man, hour a man, go to sleep one. I don't know. Is it something you become? Something you are? Something you, can stop being? It's just what makes a man a man. From the physical, there will be those people who are just like, what makes a man? Having a dick. That's what makes a guy a guy. No, not entirely, man. It's not all that. It's not only about having a penis or testicles or anything like that. Sure, that does play a huge factor from the medical side of things. Guess we know he's a male. He has a dick and balls. But, when you look at it from the trans perspective, that's not it. There are people out there who weren't born male that became male. Or there are people out there who may not appear male but identify as male. And, I can't really speak on that because I don't know much about that. So I can't speak much beyond my perspective of this is what I think a man is. So, I got some assistance in a way. I tried to reach out to some folks and ask them, what do you think makes a man a man? It really helps to get an outside perspective on things, especially when it's things you're not sure about. So if you need help, be sure to get it. Don't just be like, well, I know nothing about this topic, but I am gonna, go up and talk about it, even though I know little about it. I know some shit about this topic, but I still wanted to ask anyway. Other people, what do you think makes a man a man? And most of these people are men, because I realized that despite the fact that we all have this thing in common, we all have different experiences on it, though. We all have different definitions, different ways of conveying emotions, so we all have different opinions on what makes a man a man. One such opinion from my friend, the wise man, started this podcast with, said, when I asked him, what would you say makes a man, and what comes to mind when you hear the phrase be a man, he responded with mostly toxic masculinity. I don't care about being a man. I care about being myself. And that perspective kind of pops up a lot, the phrase toxic masculinity when it comes to describing men. And for those who are uninitiated or haven't encountered it, toxic masculinity is when you're essentially being a man, but to such a degree that it becomes off-putting and otherwise harmful, not just to you, but to those around you. There's a fine line between being a man and being a dick. Another friend that I can see his perspective, when you hear the phrase be a man, the thing that comes up is toxic masculinity, because from that perspective, you'd hear the phrase like, be a man, toughen up, stop crying, just walk it off, whatever. Just don't show emotion, because from that perspective, showing emotions like sadness or pain, it's a sign of weakness in those eyes. And that's fucked up. You're not weak for wanting to cry because you're in pain. It's like showing that being in pain says a lot. If you're in pain and you don't show that you're in pain, like, maybe something's wrong with you. You're either enjoying this or, like, you just, I don't know. It's more harmful to, strong people aren't the guys who stow their emotions and don't show that they're hurting. Strong people are the guys who aren't afraid to show that they're hurting, because they don't give a shit what anyone thinks. They don't give a fuck if you think they're weak. It's like, they're not being weak. They're being stronger by letting you know, like, hey, I'm hurting and, I need help. Those are the people you can really say, like, that is a man right there. Man enough to admit that he's hurting. Man enough to admit when he's wrong. Man enough to admit when, made a mistake or whatever. I don't know. That's what it means, like, to be man enough. It's not necessarily be a man, but right up there with be a good man, essentially. Falls in line with such things. I asked another friend of mine, by the name of Maestro. He's been on here a couple times. Haven't heard from him in a while, but you guys haven't heard from him in a while. I heard from him a couple days ago, but from his perspective, I asked him, what does be a man mean to you? What makes a man a man? He said, it means be yourself. Don't shy away from being yourself. Like, you're a person, be that person, Like, you are a person, be that person. Well, just be you. That makes a human, being who you are. Don't be somebody else. Like, somebody else ain't gonna help you, man. Someone else isn't going through whatever you're going. No, this isn't what he said. He stopped being who you are. That's where he stopped. And for me, I'm extrapolating here. This is just like, okay, what makes a human? It's being who you are. It's like, be you. Like, be a man is like, from his thing, like, what makes a man is just being you. Just being, Some people don't like themselves, so it's hard to be themselves. And they don't want to be themselves. They want to be somebody else. There are pros and cons to pretending to be someone else, or like acting more like someone else than yourself. Because, say, for example, somebody who's really confident and doesn't let a lot faze them, and you take on those personalities, like, by being like them. Okay, that's kind of the positive. There's positives in that, You be more confident, less things faze you than they previously would have. But, like, try not to get lost in it. Don't be somebody else. Just be your version of that person. Like, if you were that person, you would do this. Not, well, if they were me, what would they do? Because then you're not thinking like you would. You're thinking like they would. And at that point, you're not being honest with yourself, because you're not being you. That's what I extrapolate from that. It's a very good point. Being a man isn't necessarily about being what society defines as a man. It really means be the kind of man you want to be. That phrase, be a man, it doesn't really go into it all. It's just be a man. Whatever. It shouldn't say just be a man. It's like, it's kind of like the Assassin's Creed thing. Nothing is true, everything is permitted. If you took that at face value, that's not a good phrase, man. That's not something you want people memorizing and taking as law. If you read the whole thing in its entirety, then you'd be like, oh, okay, it makes sense. That's why I think, like, with just be a man, like, it's not enough. It's not enough to tell somebody just be a man. Be what kind of man? A good man? A wise man? A bad man? Like, no, don't just be a man. Be the kind of man you want to be. That's what I take from that. That's what I think it should say. Not just be a man. It's be the kind of man you want to be. Or if you must, keep it nice and tight with a few words, be a good man. Don't be bad. You don't have to be wise. You have to know a bunch of stuff to be wise. You be a bad man, you gotta do bad things. Be a good man. You can be a good man by just being, man. Or just be there. You know how many dads are good dads just for being there, man? There's so many people who say, like, when the dad wasn't around, they're like, they wish he was around more often. They don't necessarily mean I wish he was around doing stuff. They just mean like, I wish he was around. I wish he was there. It's like majority of parenting. There are large aspects of parenting that fall into the category of just being there, man. It's important to be there. Be there for family. Be there for like your wife, your kids. Being there. That's an important thing. You can't be a good guy if you don't be. You know, like just you have to be present in that space in order for anybody to be able to look at it and say, you know, he's a good guy. I'm not gonna say he's a good guy when he's not even there. How can you know that? He's not there. You can't speak for that. I mean, you can't speak for someone who's never there. You can't know, was he a good guy? Was he a bad guy? Was he a guy at all? I don't know. He was never here. You know, that's what I extrapolated from his sets. Another friend I asked, the anime witch, who was here on this show about a year ago, a year and a month ago, a year and a month. I remember it was June, and we talked about like Pride, and we were talking during Pride Month. We were talking about like LGBT representation in TV, and it was Pride Month, and we were talking about all that. Talking about like our favorite shows and stuff like that. That was good. We talked about like Luca, that fish movie that Disney made. That was good. I saw the trailer. I thought it was gonna be like, oh, this is like you like Call Me by Your Name, but for kids. So it's like, no, I'm sorry. I mean, Disney's upped their LGBT representation nowadays, but like, no, they're not gonna make that. They're not gonna make that movie. They're not gonna make that. No way there's gonna be Call Me by Your Name for kids. Like, there's not gonna be a scene where fucking that Grazer's character's got a peach and like he's just laying there like, nah. No, but they're not gonna animate that. It's just gonna be the kid reaching for a peach, and then the screen's gonna have these big letters saying, "I'm not animating this. Sorry, goodbye." Just imagine what happens. Like, oh shit. Anyway, moving on. Moving on from that. Anime Witch told me that these are just nicknames, monikers, aliases. These are not their actual names. Like, do you really think there's someone out there first name Anime, last name Witch? Really? Nah, that's not happening. Anyway, this is kind of funny. What she said isn't funny, but like, no, what she said isn't funny. Was just that this is funny. I'm enjoying this. I haven't done the Soulcast in a while, and I'm pretty giddy about this shit. So like, I'm not giddy about discussing what it means to be a man. I'm just kind of funny. Extrapolations and shit. So I said, hey, hello, how do you do? I got a question for you. What would you say makes a man a man? Secondly, what comes to mind when you hear the phrase, be a man? She says, a man is someone who identifies as a man. Okay, I take that as is, because, a man is somebody who identifies as a man. You can't really dispute that, really. You can't really say you are not a man. Why not? Because it's like you're not a man just because you identify as a man. It's like, well, you identify as a man, don't you? Yeah. You're a man? Yes. So why can't I? Like, that's the hypothetical conversation that would happen. Like you can't really say you're not a man just because you identify as one. Well, don't you identify as one also? It's like, that means you're not a man either. You just think. Anyway, she went on to go say, most people might describe a man as a person's character or personality, not their gender. And my dumb ass responded like, I see you're looking at it from the trans perspective. She says, well, not really. I'm looking at it from a social perspective. What is a man besides a concept that was constructed by society? Different cultures and societies have had different definitions of what a man is. There's no definite answer to what a man is. Therefore, the only solution would be to define a man as someone who identifies a man. Who identifies as such. That's good. That's a pretty decent way to look at it, because when you say, what is a man? To someone in the UK, they have a definition. Say, what is a man? to someone in the US, they have a definition. Say, what is a man to someone in India? They have a definition. Like each, whether it's India, Asia, or Bangalore, or, just the United Kingdom, or like Moldova or something, each nation, each culture, religion, belief system, continents, man, have their different interpretations of what makes a man a man. You can come down to Africa, like, hey, what is a man? Like, they'll tell you something different to what a guy in. If you go to a place like, I don't know, the DMC, Democratic Republic of Congo, and ask them, what is a man? They'll have a different answer to what a guy in Sudan thinks a man is, You would further go, I would respond that what you'd say is, from that view, a man could be anything. Well, except for a woman. Because, okay, I'm not being transphobic or nothing. I'm just saying a man could be anything except a woman. Because once he becomes a woman, he's not a man. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be transphobic. I'm just saying, once he becomes a woman, he's not a man anymore. He's a woman. It's like, it's not really like anything. I can't really draw. I'm drawing a blank here. I can't really compare it to anything. So she said, I guess, but honestly, she responded that there are no real characteristics that can be used to define men or women. They are just words that are used to identify markers. That's it. So from that perspective, being a male and being a female is they're really just labels, labels that are put on to place people into categories and shit. One is male, one is female. You're off to the races, Those labels can be shed for new ones. They can be kept on as is. A man is whatever he says he is. From that perspective, a man is who he says he is. That's what comes to mind when you hear the phrase, be a man. Be what you want to be. If that's a man, then that's on you, man. Like, good for you. Whether you're, I can't really think of anybody famous outside of Elliot Page. He's a good-looking man. I'll give him that much. I mean, goddamn, dude. Like, there are dudes out there who don't look as manly as Elliot Page, dude. Like, goddamn. Like, fuck's sakes, there's a shot of him with this tank top on, and then this other shot of him with like this open shirt, and you're just like, dude. We're like, dude. You'd swear dude had been a dude for like decades at this point. I mean, goddamn. I remember, like, dude. That's all I can say, man. He's a good looking man, but nothing. I'm just gonna bookmark that right there. Elliot Page is a good looking man. Shit. Damn, who else did I ask? I asked quite a few people. It was someone else that I asked. They left a message, actually. A couple messages, but I can't post those for you. Those are kind of like, private conversations, and like I don't want to leave their voice on here. I don't really have permission to ask that, and that's from what we've seen. Be a man from the perspectives of wise man. Be a man with basically, I'm just gonna be me. I don't care whether people see that as manly or not. I'm gonna do what I like, and that's that. From his perspective, being a man is being yourself. Fuck everybody else, You define as a man is entirely, if you say this is manly behavior, then it's manly behavior. Solely because I say it is. Not because someone else told me, like, this is manly behavior, this is what it takes for me to be a guy. It's because I'm a guy, and I say so. Kind of falls into anyone can be a man as long as they identify as one. Being a man is identifying as a man. That anime which said that. So, yeah, I don't really have much to say outside of, my view. You heard the anime witch's view, you heard Wise Man's view, and you heard my good friend Maestro's view. Those are our views. I'm like, what does it mean to be a man? What is a man anyway? Well, Now you've heard that, so yeah, you don't have much to add to that. There's a whole ass conversation coming between me and Syxx about what it is to be a man and, what the phrase be a man means coming up. So, yeah, this was recorded after that. It was supposed to be recorded before all that, but, it didn't really get all the info in time. I wanted to wait till I got everyone's take on the matter before uploading this video. So, yeah, I'm gonna staple this before all that, and then this is gonna come after. So, yep. That's all there is to it. Be a man. So just if you're listening to this, if you're still listening, you still haven't grasped what be a man is. Be a man is whatever you want to be, man. Whether it means be tough, be wise, be intelligent, be strong, caring, independent. You just be all those things. It's not just any one thing. Being a man is a lot more than just being tough. It's a lot more than just to dust yourself off or whatever. It's more. There's more to it than just having a penis. There's more to it than being some grizzled mountain man. Like, I don't know. There's more to being a man than being either, I don't know, from the sides of the spectrum, Timothy Chalamet or Paul Bunyan. No shade on Timothy Chalamet. That's a man right there. But, I'm just looking at it from the different sides of the spectrum. There's more to being a man than just any one thing. It's a lot of things. So, yeah. Bring up Timothy Chalamet because there was this video in the take about like the soft leading man. I'm just like soft, like just like did y'all just seriously call Timothy Chalamet soft? Like what gives, man? Like dude ain't soft. I mean, it probably like feels soft. I mean, he just looks. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry, man. He's just like let me put it like this. He's not your traditional, like, Hollywood hunk, basically. Yeah. That's as best as I can put it without being insulting. He's a lot of things, but he is not soft. Like, he probably feels soft. I mean, like, I don't know how he feels. Like, I've never, like, shook hands with him, dude. It's not like, I'm not speaking from experience or anything. I've never, like, rubbed up on the dude. Like, what? I'm digging myself into a hole here. What the fuck? Just, no. Damn, I went so far without swearing. Damn, man. Whatever. Like, the dude ain't soft. I mean, soft is kind of an insult when used to describe a guy. Just saying he's a soft leading man. Like, just, no, man. Like, it's soft. I mean, like, even in the 80s, soft was an insult. Just, you see this Al Pacino movie, Scarface? He's, like, talking about this guy, his friend was telling, like, man, that's a boss's lady, man. And he goes, that guy's soft. Just... That's how you know soft is an insult, straight up. Talking like the guy is a major crime boss. He's got this beautiful wife, this big mansion, and all that. And Tony Montana undercuts all of it by just saying that guy's soft. Oh shit! I'm rambling right now. I don't know how to wrap this up. I'm not wrapping this up yet. This ain't over. By the time this is stitched up, this will be the beginning. So yeah, that'll be all of it. As always, folks, this has been the S&W Experience podcast with the Shogun. There's more to come. This is, the rest of the episode's coming. So until then, make sure you're happy, make sure you're healthy, sane, stay safe. Stay safe, sane, and sanitized, basically. Keep your mask on, check your, get tested, do all those things. If you're a man out there, you identify as a man, you were born a man, became a man, whatever. Just, don't just be a man. Be a good man. You get what I'm saying? Alright. From one man to all the others, hey, stay manly, y'all. And an important piece of advice, one last tidbit before I go. A piece of, like, alien wisdom. as seen in Tom Hardy's 2018 Venom movie. You know, just try not to be a dick. Calling Black Label ad. It was, there's this horse on the loose, and these dudes chase after it. They managed to stop it and calm it down, and then it like smash cut to the end where it's like calling Black Label, be a man. Just okay. Number one, what did anything that happened have to do with beer, dude? Just that whole ad was ambiguous, man. Just what does this horse running around have to do with beer? Just.
It's funny, the Gillette ad had more of being a man than the Black Label one.
Oh yeah, the best a man can get. Yeah, I remember that shit. That was
pretty weird. One is a razor ad, one's a beer ad.
Dude. Yeah, but it still got me thinking, like, because at the end of the ad, I saw the thing, be a man, and the question just came to me, like, what does that mean anymore? Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, true.
Shit.
Like, the past, 10 years, shit, things have shifted. Norms have shifted. But a lot of things have become associated with, like, heteronormative, behaviors that was previously was like, you can't do that, you're a man. Now men are getting like manicures, they're more, I guess, they're more creative with their fashion.
Metrosexual,
yeah, the whole metro wave. I think back then it was kind of, they had to classify it in like a separate entity to maintain that sort of status quo of masculine and sort of, I guess it is toxic masculinity. It really is, because you're upholding these standards that if you don't fall in line with, you're labeled as a suspicious individual, But now that terminology, it's kind of been washed away.
Yeah.
It's like anything goes now.
Like, what does it mean to you personally, though, when you, like, think of the phrase, like, be a man? Like how would you use that term?
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends on the context,
Like, say you had to tell somebody, be a man.
Because there's different, how can I put it? There's different layers to it. Maybe look at the relationship layer, right?
Yeah.
In that layer, you have being a good significant other. You have fulfilling certain duties that come with being a man in a relationship. You have that level of care, that level of consideration, and pretty much fulfilling love languages, the quality time, acts of service, gifting, and reciprocation, and that, in that case, in that sense, that is the relationship layer. And then you have like sort of, the professional layer, right? Professional layer is you have a job, you do it well, you make friends in the social environment because no one wants to be lonely. You have these work relationships, these interpersonal work relationships. You build them because building them leads to potential favors down the line.
Yeah.
A person can do a report for you or help you with this, help you with that. It kind of falls in line with the smartest thing to do in a work environment. And then, of course, you also have the family sense of the word, the family one being like, okay, you are the patriarch, you know.
You're putting food on the table.
Yes, the matriarch does exist,
Yeah.
but you are the patriarch of the family, so you provide. You make sure certain things are up to standard, you know, be it bills, you know, fees, you know, school fees, whatever it is. And funny enough, it kind of bleeds into the relationship sense, but it's more about making sure that your wife is happy, you know, like just it. Yeah, part of that family one, making sure that the people in your life are happy while providing, you know, because it kind of sets that precedent of absentee parental individual when people talk about how, you know, their parents were too busy working when they were kids, they didn't have time for them, and that kind of created a rift in their relationship. And nowadays, as adults, they're not really as close as their parents. They're not as close with their parents because, you know, of the past. So I think part of that, you have to maintain those things, make sure that they are fulfilled, that like those duties as a parental figure, as a family man fulfilled, you know, spending time with your kids, you know, and then also, again, the whole wife thing, you know, just making sure that your marriage is afloat, that it's going well, it's healthy, it's nurtured, it's cared for, it's attended to. And then there's the social one. Social just in terms of like friends and being a good friend, being an available friend when possible. You know, just spending time with your friends and not actively trying not to be a bad friend. Maintaining those social commitments in that sense of the word. You know, so there's multiple layers. Most of them just kind of correlate to being a good person or being the best you can be.
Yeah, that's a really good, solid assessment of like, you know, hey, this is what it means to essentially be a man. Not like there's, like you said, there's different ways to look at it. Like, okay, there's the hey, this is what it means to be one of the boys, or this is what it means to like be a dude or whatever. But like a man, it's like that's kind of different to all that, you know. It doesn't really slot into those brackets. It's its own thing. And nowadays, you're right, it's not as self-centered as it used to be. It's no longer a case of like, okay, you're the man, so you gotta get a job, you gotta pay the bills, you gotta do this and that and this and that. You're the head of the table, whatever. You know, it doesn't mean what it used to. Personally, like, in the past, you would hear the phrase, like, be a man when it's like, whenever you showed some kind of weakness or something. Because that would normally be the only reason to bust it out. Like, you know, like, toughen up, like be a man. Allowed, you know? Yeah.
Like, you're not allowed weakness.
Yeah. Another thing, like, that kind of cracks me up nowadays, but, like, men don't cry. Just, like, fuck you, man. Yeah. Men cry. Okay.
Definitely.
I can see some of that. Like, okay, men don't cry over small shit. Okay, I can get that. No, my man's not gonna cry because, like, oh, you grazed your knee or whatever. A kid is understandable, sure, but like a grown ass man, nah, dude, get up, just.
Exactly.
But you know, the idea that men don't cry ever or show any weakness or emotion is bullshit. Because I remember, like, my grandfather on my dad's side passed away, and dude, up until that day, I had never seen my dad cry. Like, I had never seen him cry, and in that moment, he was not weak. He was human, and like, it shows. Like, even
crying is strength.
Yeah.
Crying takes a lot of you letting go of certain things that make you have this level of shame to do it. It takes a lot of strength to cry. It takes strength to be weak, to be vulnerable.
Yeah. So this, plus it also falls into that toxic masculinity thing. When I first started looking into that, I just thought it was bullshit. I was just like, nah, some chick made this up somewhere to diss dudes because she doesn't like men. That was just the attitude back then. But then I started running into it, running into people that fit this description. I'm like, fuck, men are toxic as fuck at times.
Yep.
Hey.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is too.
And again, it's sort of it's societal indoctrination.
Yeah, you grow up believing that sort of things, just being a man is it's a role that you have to fill, and anything less than, or just it ain't good enough, man. You just
yeah. Even mothers, man, mothers definitely perpetuate some of that shit, even when they don't need to.
When it comes to the when you see in a film the strong single parent, there's this belief oh, you gotta be the mom and the dad. I mean, I can get how it's empowering in some way to be okay, she was a single mom, she raised a kid all by herself, and there's a message to that, but then it's is that really a good thing that she did that all by herself?
It doesn't what? I didn't hear the last.
No, I was just asking, a strong, independent woman raising a kid by herself, but it's it also raises this thing of is that really a good thing though, that you did this all by yourself?
It's not a good thing, because you were never supposed to raise a kid by yourself in any case. Yeah. The only reason, or the only time where that is applicable is if the other parent is no more. You get what I mean?
Yeah. That is...
But if the parent is living and is not trying to fulfill an active role in co-parenting, that's just selfishness. It shouldn't be that way.
Yeah. The deadbeat dad trope. Plus there's another thing, dude. Exactly. You see that a lot. You hear a lot of stories where the deadbeat dad, he made this woman pregnant and then he ran out. How it's rare to see the deadbeat mom. Yeah.
It's the fact that it's so prevalent in the black community, and it's internationally. It's in America. Obviously, they have deadbeat dad jokes and comedy, but even in South Africa, South Africa, it's women get pregnant every 32 seconds in this country, and it's the fathers. Well, pregnancy is a two-way procedure. It's not a spontaneous, asexual breeding thing. There is a man, but most of the time, the man doesn't stick around, and it's sad. It's sad that we are the perpetrators of that to such a high degree than any other race on the planet. It gives us a bad name. It really does give us a bad image as people.
Yeah. Because when you think of the deadbeat dad, more often than not, you're going to think of a black guy.
Yeah, black guy and a wife beater. He has an old-ass car. He spends money on women every weekend. Money he doesn't have.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But then again, with that stereotype prevalent in many people's life stories and in film and TV, it's rare you see the deadbeat mom, dude. Because there are cases where the mom is the one who bailed.
Yeah, I think the only reason why it's rare is because most of the time, when women become single mothers, it's because they are abandoned during the pregnancy period. So they themselves can't abandon the kid because they're the only thing that they have.
Yeah.
You mostly see a deadbeat mom in instances where you have, a couple that is together, and then one day, after it being so bad for so long, the mother packs up and leaves the kid with the father, which then creates a deadbeat mom.
Yeah.
But essentially, you can't have a deadbeat mom without an initial successful relationship, which is the man and the woman living together in the same house.
Yeah. Although in this day and age, it's like, I mean, the man and the woman can have the kid, but like now it's like, oh, the parents can be anybody, man and a man, woman and a woman. It's just, whatever works. Hey, did you hear that thing about like this one cinema somewhere tried to fast forward through this one same-sex scene in the Lightyear movie?
No, what happened?
No, there's apparently in that that Lightyear movie it's not inspired by the toy, but
it's
like
in the toys.
yeah.
Yeah, it's in the Toy Story universe, and that inspires Buzz.
Yeah, well, the creation of Buzz, but yeah.
Yeah.
That movie, apparently there's a same-sex scene in that movie, and this one cinema, most cinemas, they just cut scenes like that out. Apparently this one cinema somewhere actually tried to fast forward through that scene.
That would be so annoying and jarring.
Dude, you're just like sitting there, movies going at a regular pace, characters coming together, then all of a sudden, like what the, like. Ooh.
It's funny. I think in this case, Marvel deserves, it deserves a little bit of respect if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Let's look at it this way: movies that did not come out in theaters all over the world was The Eternals. Wait, was it The Eternals? I'm not sure, but just basically, it was MLM because of Miss Marvel. Amanda Chavez, and Thor: Love and Thunder because of Valkyrie. And I think also No Way Home. Is it No Way Home? I'm not sure.
I don't think it has anything going on there.
But yeah, certain movies were not put in China, Russia, certain African countries because Marvel, one, refused to allow them to censor whatever thing that they'd have a problem with, and two, they refused to add in scenes that would perpetrate a certain propaganda. Like, in the past, Marvel would add some scenes with Asian people to appeal to the Chinese government, the CCP, and with that, allow the movie to be broadcast in that circuit, in that territory, in that country. Such scenes like Iron Man 3, when we see the doctors operating on Tony, they're all Asian doctors. And then you also see the scene in Age of Ultron where Helen Cho is introduced, and of course Helen Cho just being a plot creation to appeal to the Chinese government. But I think now with the way things have been going on in China, and certain sanctions of products and services, just like Russia, you now have Marvel refusing to add in scenes with Asian people purely for the sake of appealing to the CCP, which means the CCP will not, by any means, broadcast that particular movie of the MCU in their movie circuits, which means effectively we've been losing out on China for the past year and a half now, pretty much, on China's box office. And No Way Home performed as good as it did, even without China. Now imagine if China was in the fold. You would have been crazy.
Yeah.
Like, take Fast 7. Most of Fast 7's revenue came from China. That's what helped the movie get over $1 billion, dollars. China alone is responsible for approximately $700 million in ticket sales. Now removing China creates a sinkhole, an empty space in the movie industry, in the box office.
Yeah.
Sort of math. So obviously with China, if you don't add some Chinese propaganda, and it doesn't have to be propaganda. It just has to be some Chinese content. If you don't add it in, they won't take your movie. And if you don't cut the gay scenes, then they also won't play it in places like Russia, and places like Sudan, Angola, Malawi, many Egypt as well, many countries, even Moon Knight. I'm not sure what scene it was, or it was.
But Moon Knight got banned. Yeah.
They borrowed Moon Knight from Egypt because of some scenes, I think, with Oscar Isaac. I'm not sure, but basically it didn't show in Egypt, and obviously MOM didn't show in Egypt because of the same. Obviously Miss Marvel was wearing the pride flag on her jacket.
With Moon Knight, it's fucking ironic considering a large chunk of that story.
Putting their foot down now. Yeah. They're not gonna allow these countries to sort of cut the movie, short and sort of, fast forward or whatever it is. And it kind of surprises me that theater, which it was probably in America, because I don't think Disney and Marvel would give a country a certain movie and then
let them
allow
edit
them to sort of allow them to manipulate it.
Yeah. Did in the case
so
of
where that happened, most definitely would have had to have been within America, because there's still some racist states in America. It's pretty much it's a hit and miss in America. Some states they're accepting, some states is we don't allow your kind here. So that probably had to have been America, because I don't think Disney would have allowed that if it was another country.
Yeah. And it was Oklahoma. Weird. It was the U.S. You're right. It was Oklahoma, the theater that tried to fast forward. It was this theater in Oklahoma.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, just.
We'd be if Disney and Marvel were that greedy for money, they'd still ship the movies to those countries where certain things aren't allowed, and then they'll just say, you know what, here's the movie, play it, give us the money, just cut whatever shit you don't want. If they were truly, evil and cynical and out for money, but hey, they very much have that level of integrity that should be applauded, because not that many movies sort of cater to that.
It's easy to do that when you have that fuck you money that Disney has. Just saying.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Same thing with there's a stupid request that China made, dude. The Chinese government doesn't make silly requests. It's normally a thing like, this part of the movie doesn't align with our views or whatever. But this is dumb. There's this one about No Way Home. It was the Chinese government requested that Marvel change the third act so that it doesn't take place at the Statue of Liberty.
They wanted it to be like the Great Wall or something Asian.
The fuck? That's the entire third act of the movie.
That's asking for too much, in my opinion. That's too much. You're asking. Isn't it enough that we have Benedict Wong? But no, they want an entire fight scene dedicated to the country. When 10 years ago, they were happy with a couple of doctors in a room operating on Tony Stark.
Yeah. But dude, that's just, if it was
it's asking for more, in my opinion. It's asking for way more.
Because normally it's change this one thing in a scene that is easily changeable. Yeah. But this is the movie's third act. That's half an hour, man. Yeah. That's half an hour of CG.
It's a major part of the plot. Major part of the plot dedicated to a country. Fuck that.
Fuck that, man.
I'm glad they didn't agree, because that's outrageous.
Also, it wouldn't make sense in some of the story.
It wouldn't, because why would you be in China?
Seriously. Why would Peter Parker and them just up and move to China?
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Even Shang-Chi they were angry about.
Really? You think they'd love that shit, man?
Yeah. The thing is, most of them were like, Simu isn't handsome, because how in China they have this very weird thing with beauty. A lot of them get surgery, a lot of them, do their noses, their eyes. Most of them hate looking Chinese. And what they basically said was, Simu Liu is not a conventionally attractive Chinese man, he's ugly. And they wanted him to be recast. And Marvel was like, hell no. They were like, okay, cool, fuck you. We're not going to show this movie in the country.
Yeah, that's really weird. Man.
So it's very weird.
I don't get that. Even when like the movie is like seemingly catered to them and you think they'd be good with it, there's still something where they're like, nah, we don't like this. Like just
Exactly.
uh
And
oh,
even the whole thing, they also wanted some more, I guess what's the word? They wanted more Asian propaganda in Shang-Chi. So all of that was sort of, it was like a decision to be like, okay, we're not going to release this in mainland, right? Beijing and them can get it, but mainland, no. Because I think they had the same thing with Mulan. They hated Mulan.
yeah,
Jesus Christ,
I
they
can
hated
see
Mulan.
that.
That was a wild one. Because you would think that, a movie that sort of paid homage to the Asian culture, the Chinese culture, would be so beloved as much as the anime movie was. But no, they hated it. They hated how it portrayed them as these savages and marauders. And it was a shit show. I mean, it wasn't a good movie, but they just hated how it portrayed them as the Chinese people.
Yeah. I could see that. Just you don't want people thinking of you in that negative light that of something that happened hundreds of years ago and people thinking, oh, that's probably how it is now.
And it literally happened in the movie as well. So it's like, how are you going to be mad at this movie when that other movie did it 23 years ago? Like, make up your mind.
Yeah.
They don't know what they want.
It's tough though, man, to like try to please. Oh, the thing is, because for a while, like the rule was if you want your movie to do well, you need to crack China. Like, and the best way to get with that Chinese box office is like set your movie there, or have something in there that plays to that. Yeah. Dude, just like there's so many movies that normally that didn't really do that well in America because it was because of that. These movies didn't do that well in America, but when they got to China, they did a ton of money. Like
that was pretty much the earlier Marvel movies. They sucked in America because America was still, busy with DC and busy with other action franchises that had more success at that point in the MCU. But then, before you knew it, America began to want to the MCU as well. Like, I remember when The Dark Knight came out. That movie made $1 billion in like a couple of weeks. Avengers was a bit slow to the party. However, at the very end, what you saw was people in China embracing the Avengers and they liked these characters. And, Iron Man, he was in the last movie, with the Asian people. And cool. But now it's just like, we can live without China now. We can survive without China because the world has been accustomed to such a degree.
Yeah. Thing is, like, that movie Terminator Genesis, which is weird because you think, oh, it's a Terminator movie. Like, of course they're gonna love it and it's gonna take absolute bank, but it didn't. It made more money in worldwide sales than it did domestically, and most of those sales was from China. And like you said,
America's very picky.
yeah. It's weird because it's their own franchises, man. It's not like a foreign movie trying to break in.
America can be separated into like maybe 4 quadrants. You have your true nerds, right? Nerds. You have your Star Wars nerds, right?
Yeah.
Then you have your comic nerds. But back then, it was mostly DC running the party. So if it wasn't DC, it wasn't good. You had Batman, you had Superman, you had, the successful TV shows. Marvel was kind of late to the party in terms of success. I mean, yes, when the 2000s began, we began to, we started to be a little bit more, up there. We finally joined the party, the blockbuster party. But DC still had their hands held tight. We had X-Men, Spider-Man, but they had The Dark Knight and Smallville and the success of the previous movies from the previous years. Obviously, nixing in any one of Schumacher's films. But
Yeah.
DC was still the king in terms of movies. And of course, the Nolan films came out and they were a huge success. You know, like 800 and something for Batman Begins, $1 billion for The Dark Knight, another $1 billion and some change for The Dark Knight Rises. Those movies were cracking billions before Marvel could even crack 800 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Avengers
Now
was
that
still on the way, yeah.
we're sort of saturated in a superhero genre, people have started to gravitate away from most of them that aren't immediately connected to Marvel or DC. That just look at how mediocrely Brightburn did. Didn't do that well.
That was an actually good movie.
Yeah, it was a good movie, but it wasn't Marvel or DC. So people were like, okay, no thanks.
Yeah.
And obviously now, you know, Star Wars, it's kind of a half and half. People love the prequels and the sequels, but not really, because it's Disney. People feel like Disney ruined Lucasfilm. I don't know about that personally. I don't agree. But, you know, people are very picky in America. And it feels to me like the action genre, like the blockbuster genre pioneered by people like Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Willis. That genre is kind of dead. It's dead.
Yeah. It's mostly superhero movies now. No honesty, just
Yep.
or if you do make a decent action movie, it probably winds up straight to DVD.
Or straight to streaming.
Yeah. I think the last proper action movie I saw was Bad Boys for Life. Yeah, that was
And even then, that was like a resurgence of a dead genre. You know what I feel? I feel like the only person who could have done it just exceptionally in that genre had it not died, was like people like Scott Adkins and Scott Eastwood.
Yeah. He definitely.
Those few celebrities, they would have done well in the action genre had it not died.
Yeah.
But it did, so they went straight to DVD and straight to TV movies. It sucks.
I just looked up the like top 10 grossing like action movies of like 2021. The top 4 are Marvel movies, dude. Just
Yep.
that's rough.
If it's not Marvel, it's Disney. So basically, it's like it's Marvel, it's a Disney animatic, it's a Pixar animatic, or it's a sci-fi thing, some random sci-fi thing.
Based on an established franchise,
Made by
yeah.
like I don't know, made by ILM or what? I don't know, just some good VFX studio.
Well, you mean like Dune?
Yeah, if it's not Marvel or Disney or Pixar, it's something independent and something sci-fi and something made by a good sci-fi studio.
Yeah. Like
And it's either Sony or Paramount or one of those ones.
yeah.
Fox is dead, so they can't do anything anymore. I mean, they're dead, but they're alive. It's weird.
I mean,
They're not-
20th Century
they're not Fox,
Studios.
they're just 20th.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just 20th now, so. And even they don't even make movies. Like, they haven't made a movie since the movies that they kept releasing that was still under the Fox slate. So, they don't even crack the top 20 in terms of movie releases and box office.
Not entirely true. There's one, Free Guy. That was a 20th Century Studios film. I mean, it.
Did it not have some Disney touch as well?
Oh, it did. It did,
Yeah.
but like,
That's the thing.
I mean,
I
that's
think since the majority of the movie, since the majority of it was completed while at Disney, you can technically classify it as a Disney film.
yeah, and they only started filming after the sale went through, so it's technically a Disney
Yeah.
film.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty. it's pretty much that. Like, it's landlocked. It sucks. But I think now with like movies like Avatar 2 coming out, obviously James Gunn used to be Mr. Cinema. I mean, hello, his movie was Once Upon a Time, the highest movie of all time. Two of those movies, Titanic and Avatar. But now, I think, while I don't think it's a return to form, it's definitely opening up the industry once more. But it is not a return to form. Make no mistake.
Not a fan of the Suicide Squad.
Thing is, I am, but box office wise, it's like number 7, number 8.
Dude, it made less money than the first Suicide Squad.
Actually, I missed one. If it's not Marvel, Disney, Pixar, or an independent sci-fi, it's Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers has some good performing movies, but those movies are not DC.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
You got
So
Godzilla vs. Kong and Mortal Kombat.
That made it good.
Yeah, Godzilla vs. Kong was like, what? Dude, that's a lot. Shit. Out of, damn, overall, it's like, okay, I can't count this number, man. Like, I'm shooting with comments.
I don't know. I think it's just, why is it that there is less studio interference in non-DC properties that are owned by Warner Brothers than DC films? Why is that?
I think it's, though, personally, my theory, I blame Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, because I blame Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy for that, because there was no studio interference on that project, and it made like a fuck ton of money. It showed DC like, hey, there's money to be made on these superhero movies, so, you know, and then when they gave Snyder Man of Steel, and it didn't make the kind of money that Chris Nolan's Batman did, they were like, we need to step in, you know? And that's when it started. That's
a good theory.
Yeah.
Which is very weird because you look at Iron Man 1. Iron Man 1 made like 630 million. It didn't make a lot of money. No, in fact, it was less than that. It's probably like 400. Let me actually check it. All I know, it was very little. When I first see 585 million. When Iron Man came out,
it was 2008, yeah.
It was like number 8 on the box office.
$585.8 million. That was Iron Man 1.
Hancock did better than Iron Man. Hancock. Will Smith's Hancock. When that movie came out in summer of 2008, it was number 8 in the box office movies. It was beaten by movies like Hancock, movies like The Dark Knight, obviously. That made $1 billion. It was beaten by so many movies in 2008. It was beaten by Toy Story 3, you know what I mean? Hancock did better, that's how you know. And they didn't give up. They were one movie in, new studio, and they didn't give up. The movie made $500 million.
Yeah.
DC's first movie, it makes over $500 million. It makes 668. That's not bad at all. It's your first movie, my guy. It's your first movie.
And they're just like, oh, it didn't make Avengers level money. No, it didn't make Dark Knight levels money. We need to step in and fix this. Just, no, it's the first film. Nobody's first film makes that kind of money.
Avengers money till the Avengers. Like, what the hell?
Dude.
So funny how Warner Brothers thinks. Funny how the executives think.
Jesus, dude. Like, Iron Man 1 had like $120 million budget, and it made back $585 million. That's way more. That brought back the investment. It justified sequels, and then some. Yeah. Just, dude.
And Man of Steel made a bigger profit. But they were like, next movie we're gonna interfere.
Yeah. The next movie.
Even then, that.
Yeah. You know, initially the next movie wasn't supposed to be BVS. It was supposed to be Man of Steel 2.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
It's so bewildering how little trust they had in their own universe.
What bites even more is that it was working. The movie didn't bomb. It didn't underperform. It just, didn't make Avengers level money.
You know what I think happened? They thought, because, okay, obviously, let's be honest. Let's be fully honest. Characters like Iron Man and Captain America and Thor were not premier popular characters, right?
Yeah.
They weren't. However, those movies made some money, and they resulted in a universe that created more money. Now, you look at a person like Superman, right? Superman is DC's baby. That's their bread and butter, That's their Superman as a character was at some point the most popular superhero on the planet. Everyone knew him,
Yeah.
If you go to Uganda, show a picture of Clark, of Superman, and they'll say Superman. You can go anywhere. So I think because of that, they thought that Superman's sheer popularity would grant them an instantaneous billion out the gate just because of how famous he is.
Yeah.
And when he didn't, they were like, well, if our best-selling character can't make a billion from a director's own effort, then we have to step in and make it make a billion. Which is the wrong way to go about it.
Yeah. I just want to know the train of thought that went from let's do a sequel to Superman and skip that and jump straight to let's have Batman and Superman be the second movie.
Well, thing is, that was what they thought a billion would bring in.
Dude. Also, keep in mind, around the same time, Civil War was coming up. So I think that had something to do with
now
it.
It's two of their most famous characters with the third famous one in one movie. They thought that would definitely be a billion. And then after that, they were like, Zach, you are not making the next movie without us. You need us because you can't make a billion. You used three of our most popular characters and you still failed. We're definitely getting involved in the next movie. Much more than what we did in this one.
And then came Justice League.
Yep.
I mean, Wonder Woman was in between all that, but, I mean, not a whole lot going on there.
I think Wonder Woman had begun in tandem of BVS, because it came out 2017.
Yeah.
I think Patty had already had her creative control way before the executives could dig their filthy nails in the character and the movie as a whole. I promise you, if Wonder Woman had come out in like 2019 or 2018, that movie would have had so much studio interference, it would have been a flop.
Yeah.
Patty's version would have been washed down the gutter like paint.
There is a little bit of interference, because with that third act, because the dude, there was a fight with the
Ares.
Yeah, Ares. Patty Jenkins didn't want just Wonder Woman fighting a bunch of CGI, and the studio was like, nah, the movie has to have this big third act finale with Ares and shit physically duking it out, as opposed to Wonder Woman getting I don't know, the moral victory, I guess, and getting the soldiers to drop arms or whatever. Nah, she needs a physical threat that she can punch, it's not enough that she's literally fighting in World War II.
Yeah. DC, I don't know why no one has thought to fire the executives. But anyway, who's going to fire the executives? They'd have to resign themselves. You can't really fire an executive. Yeah. I mean, Warner Brothers could probably do some internal shuffling, but yeah, it's hard to get rid of people if they're at the top. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it took a while to get a new head of creative, man. For Walter Hamada and them to actually show up. It took a while, man.
It's tough.
What's weird though is that they didn't let Zack Snyder direct like his version of Justice League initially, but they had him as an executive producer on everything else. Like, look through the credits of Suicide Squad and Wonder Woman, even all the way up to Wonder Woman 84. Like, he's
You know
there.
why?
Just-
I think a lot of that, and obviously certain movies did this better than others. That as much as certain movies were different, a lot of them still had to have that input by Zack. So by that virtue, he had signed on as an executive producer. So the movie would be distributed using his channels, and through that he also has some input on, okay, Batman acts like this, Batman acts like that. Okay, this is how you do this character. This is how you do Harley, whatever it is.
yeah, because
So as to not deviate from what he had created. Because Wonder Woman is Zack's baby, PVS. Paddy adapted Zack's Wonder Woman. So it's kind of like he still had to make sure that certain characters acted the same way and that they weren't totally different.
yeah, it makes sense. Because even with like in the one film, I don't know if it was BVS or the first version of Justice League, but like Ben Affleck was brought in as a producer. Because if you remember back then, he was set to direct, write, and star in a Batman movie, and they didn't want like his Batman movie to be different from like the Batman they had in their movie. So he was a producer on that too. You think that movie would have been good? I mean, we already got like Pattinson's Batman, but like, you think if we'd gotten yeah.
So now this is the Batman.
Yeah, like Ben Affleck's The Batman. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember, because who did they have? Was it Goya? Was it David Goya?
David S. Goyer,
Who
yeah.
was directing that movie?
No,
he was
the director
directing-
was supposed to be Ben Affleck, but then he stepped down, and that's when Matt Reeves came in.
And then Reeves came in, and then it was Goya and Affleck writing the scripts.
Yeah.
Goya helping Affleck, and even then there were creative differences and creative disagreements, and even then after that, you also had him butting heads with Matt Reeves, and then he just left altogether because there's too much stress.
Yeah. Because it's a lot of work. It's not only a lot of work directing a movie, but producing in it, writing it, and starring in it. It's just, that's a lot for one dude.
Yeah.
So I can get.
It doesn't even make it better that you had his experience on Justice League in tandem with his divorce, in tandem with his alcoholism, which you can clearly see in reshoots where he has gained significant weight
And he look
in his
rough
face and
some
his
of those
body.
shoots.
He's bloated.
Yeah.
You can tell his skin is flushed out. You had the divorce, the alcoholism, the way Whedon treated him on set, that trauma. He didn't want any more superhero nonsense in his life. He was done with it. He was fully done with it.
Plus, because I think it was more noticeable that his physique, like, kind of, diminished. Because in BVS, there was that sequence where he was, like, training and, beating up tires.
Yeah.
Like, he was ripped in that scene. And then you see him in BVS, it's like, eesh.
Even earlier than that, you have the initial trailer, right, for Justice League. The teaser, the one that Zack made.
Yeah.
You have a Bruce Wayne who looks exactly like his BVS counterpart. And of course, that trailer and that footage would have been filmed just before Garner filed for divorce and just before Ben started drinking again. So he was still in his tip-top physical health and in his personal best, like the best he's ever looked. And then when the actual movie comes out and these reshoots are mixed in, you see an Affleck who's much different than the trailer. You see a wig that isn't as good, doesn't sit in the same place. His skin is red, his face is bloated, he's puffy, he looks tired in every scene that involves any bit of action. He's heaving. You can definitely tell that this is something that changed.
Yeah, like I think for me it was most relevant that he'd fallen out of shape in that one scene where like he was, you know, like after they got beat up by Superman and you saw him in his suits. And I was just like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, this suit's kind of like looks,
Kind of round.
yeah, it's kind of round. Just like just in the other
Yeah.
one, it was like I don't know. It was you could see abs and shit, man. Like just they weren't carved into the suit or anything. But now it's like, yo, like what's going on, man? Like just. And you're right. His face was kind of red though. Like that scene when he was on the jet talking to Alfred was. There's scenes where he looks different. He looks different in many scenes of that
That's
movie.
what happens when you drink a lot. Because, when you get drunk, it's your blood being diluted by the actual, the actual cells, right? The alcohol,
Yeah.
it kind of thins your blood, and it kind of makes you, how when you drink, you feel warmer, your body feels
Yeah.
warmer. Because
Blood
it's
is
literally
thicker,
your
yeah.
blood circulating in a faster succession. And of course, when white people have that happen to them, their skin becomes redder. But with us, we kind of look the same because we're black. It's melanin.
Yeah.
But with white people, the blood
It's
is all over the
visible.
place.
Yeah. Especially if it's
I
like
remember he was saying in
serious
an interview
alcoholism. Yeah.
that there would be times where he'd be drinking on set in his trailer, and then he'll film a scene just to sort of. It was mostly because of the stress caused by Joss Whedon that increased his level of drinking, because he was really drinking a lot to begin with because of the whole divorce proceedings and whatnot, and the split from Jennifer Garner. But
Yeah.
it's just Whedon only exacerbated that too much to such a higher degree. And then now it's just like in those scenes you can clearly see what kind of toll drinking had on him.
Yeah. I remember after the movie came out and he was like, he didn't want anything to do with superhero movies anymore. After like all the backlash that came from it, it was just like there was this feeling of like, on Twitter it was like, guys, I think we broke Ben Affleck. Like just this is
And they did, hey?
dude.
And it's definitely Warner Brothers for not protecting the actors, right?
Yeah.
And that's the one thing. Warner Brothers as a studio did not protect their actors. It's Warner Brothers, it's Hamada, it's people who are trying to cover it up, it's Whedon, it sucks.
What's weird is it's not it I can't entirely say that it's Warner Brothers because their other projects didn't have this flag, but Justice League had the most like interference. Whereas if you look at the Suicide Squad, not like Gun Suicide Squad, I mean Air Suicide Squad, there was interference there,
Yeah.
but not to the same degree.
I think what the only reason why I say Warner Brothers is because they actively protected Joss even during
years.
his
Shit.
ill treatment of the cast.
Yeah. I think it was mainly down to we can't have another director like walk out on us because Zack Snyder walked out for personal reasons. I totally get
Exactly.
stepping away, but like I think from WB's perspective is we are too close to the release date. We've sunk too much money. We can't afford another director walking out, so let's keep him here however we can, even if it's putting up with his bullshit or whatever. Just so long as the movie gets there on due date, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Until it fucking did, and the movie came out, made less money than BVS. Just
Until it did. Disgusting.
oh jeez. Oh man, just
But they're definitely to blame.
yeah. This thing about like putting money above all else is just.
Yeah.
Speaking of like WB putting money above all else, did we really need a Matrix 4? If we'd never gotten a Matrix 4 and just like jump straight to hey, let's reboot the franchise, would we have been better off?
No one asked for it. That's the thing. No one asked for it. There wasn't some sort of fan petition. There was none of that. most of what this is, and again, I think people have definitely said before, is that studios are digging into their inventory, and they're sort of they're profiteering off of certain properties because they are now creatively bankrupt, and that's true. It's true. Most studios are creatively bankrupt. It's mostly reboots. It's reboots. It's new sort of it sucks. It sucks because it kind of what you would see as an original story does not come as often anymore.
Yeah.
It's either a reboot or a sequel or a continuation.
Though, like, same question though. Would we have been better off if they just rebooted The Matrix instead of giving a straight up sequel?
Thing is, rebooted it with who, with what?
I mean, it's a reboot, so, it's the same story, but just like,
And that's the thing, because a lot of that story was wrapped up, in a sense of the word, neatly, with a bow, back then. So now, where would you start the story? It's complicated.
Because, well, personally, I mean, if it were me, since The Matrix was like a 90s story, like, and like Neo was just a guy working in an office, I hate my fucking job, whatever.
Yep.
Just do that, but like bring it into the present day. Instead of having him like sitting in a fucking cubicle or something, using dial-up phones or whatever, still like have him be a dude in a miserable job. And in comes Morpheus is like, hey, the world you're living in isn't real. Wake up. Like, just...
Like the next person, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Now, here's my question. Does the next person have to be the next Neo?
No,
Well, they don't.
They don't, really. Fucking Neo wasn't the next Neo.
What would you have... Yeah, Neo is the Neo.
Yeah.
What would you have them do?
I don't know, man. Just you finish what they started in the first one with like, with Neo. How that first movie ended? It's like they were gonna take the fight to the machines. Like actually have them take the fight to the machines. Like that movie ends with him flying off into the sky like he's gonna go kick ass, and the next movie just begins like, oh, well we're still living in Zion. There's still millions plugged in. The machines are coming to get us. Still, just,
Yeah.
like actually have them full on take the fight to them, just...
Do things, yes.
Yeah.
I get it.
It could have worked. I mean, problem is who'd be Neo, because Keanu Reeves was kind of like a rare find. Like...
Exactly. He was the right actor at the right time to do what he did.
Yeah. I mean, the original choice was Will Smith, but like, hey, that would have been a different movie.
Will wouldn't have held up.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
He wouldn't have held up, given all the time that's passed.
Will is kind of good in certain roles, but okay, does Will hold up in Independence Day? Does his acting hold up?
Does his acting hold up?
Because that's early. That's early.
Yeah, that's like Bad Boys. I mean, he wasn't fresh off of Fresh Prince,
Bad Boys
but it's
worked.
like, yeah,
Bad
worked.
Boys worked because of what it was.
Yeah.
But Will, in a more challenging role that isn't so cut and dry, it's tougher.
You don't think Will can be essentially the Jesus Christ type, like...
Hell no. Well, not then, at least. Will basically played himself in every role up until Ali.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see it.
And then you compare it to like Keanu. Like, you look at him in Wayne's World. You look at him in what's the one with the Devil's Advocate?
Yeah, with Al Pacino.
You know,
yeah.
you look at him in Speed.
That's a different guy in every
He's a
movie.
different person every time. You know?
Yeah.
That man had acting chops that made it possible for him to be considered for this role, to be considered for the role where he could act as a different person altogether. But a lot of Will Smith was back then, it's just Will Smith.
Yeah.
Like, you could take Mark Lowry and put him in Independence Day. It's nearly the same character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Tony
yeah,
Stark's
yeah.
joke.
Shit, Point
Yeah.
Break. That's definitely.
You got a mean swing, Point Break.
Shit. Oh damn.
Tony Stark.
But I actually
Yeah.
busted out this one Avengers reference during this one, like in between classes, like we were going our way between classes, and this chick had this dress on. Dude, it looked like a curtain, man. Like, just, it looks like you just made a dress out of a curtain. And I did that.
Doth Mother know?
Yeah, doth Mother know thou weareth her drapes? And she looks at me like, what? Like, what is that? Like, just like, you don't know that? You don't know what that is? Like, oh, come on, man. Like, just.
Damn. Yeah.
Oh, dude, just. It looked at me like I was crazy. Like, just like, why would she legit asked me, why would someone wear drapes? Just, no, you're taking it literally. That's just.
It's not the point.
That's not the point.
Yeah, it's not the point.
Oh shit, dude. But there was one chick where like it actually made me smile where she got a reference I made. She had this like neck brace on, and then like she was sitting in front of me and she turned. She had to like shift her whole body to talk, whatever. And then I said like I made a reference. It's like, yeah, it's like, I hope you don't have to keep turning around your whole body like Tim Burton's Batman or something. And she was like, good. I'm like, wait, you got that? I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't I? I was just like, fucking yes, finally. Like, someone caught my shit. Just, damn. Speaking of Batman, you see Keaton's Batsuit for The Flash.
Yeah, it's slightly different. It's kind of the same suit that they have for Batgirl. Yeah, it's fine. It definitely seems like the natural progression that suit would go.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do I like the fact that they've removed the semi-realistic abs in favor for like, robotic abs? Not really, but I get it. It's more sort of like, it's more utilitarian. What?
Militaristic? I mean, like.
Yeah, pretty much.
But with I heard this thing, George Clooney's Batman suit with the nipples. It's on sale for like 40,000. Just
utilitarian, basically. Yeah. It's more utilitarian.
Oh yeah.
It makes sense.
Makes sense.
Like, oh, these look like human abs. That's no protection.
That makes no sense. Just oh jeez. Why does the suit have abs on the outside?
It's just stylistic.
Yeah. So many things. Another question, why is the suit blue in Batman and Robin? Just, I get that he was blue in the old comics, but like, why is he blue? Just.
And that's the thing, because the Schumacher films wanted to capture the zaniness of the 50s, 60s comics. The whole Batman makes these fourth wall jokes. He has zany gadgets like shark repellent and the bat card and skates and rollerblades. It's very much 60s comic book Batman.
which
brought to life, which is essentially what Adam West Batman was.
yeah, that's what bothered me, man. Like we already have that. We have Adam West Batman. We don't need that here. Like just the whole reason this Batman is successful is because it's not Adam West Batman. Just
I guess you didn't see that.
yeah. Though this is interesting. I remember I asked, dude, and like there was apparently talk back then after Batman and Robin didn't make the kind of money they wanted. It's like there was discussion like let's take Batman into a new light. Let's adapt the Dark Knight Batman. Like have him be this grizzled veteran, like fighting crime, like more brutally. Basically, they wanted to release it. It was sometime between Batman Begins, but after Batman and Robin. Do you think if they'd made that movie, like back then, like between those time periods, would it have worked? Given where comic movies were at that point.
Yeah. I don't know. That's tough. Maybe. It depends on the tone.
What do you mean?
Like it depends on what kind of tonality they wanted to go for.
Like the Dark Knight Returns story, like Batman comes out of retirement, just
yeah, because you can do that on a PG-13 level and on
really
R level.
just I don't
so I mean the comic was good. I enjoyed the cartoon as well.
yeah.
But for most of that, it kind of requires R. But PG is not bad at all because the cartoon worked. It worked. Obviously, there were some elements, removed, but it worked.
Yeah,
so it depends on how far they went into it.
The tall, busty chick with swastika tattoos on her nipples just had to go in that cut.
Yeah, that was no, you can't have that. You can't have kids looking at that. That's crazy.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh shit. Thing is, with like, okay, let's bring in a dark and gritty Batman, but he's gonna be PG. It kind of neuters the thing, just why have him be dark and gritty if you're gonna be PG? Just
yeah, I mean, you could probably fight for like a 16.
Yeah.
16 is also not bad.
But to properly adapt,
if a movie's 16, everyone goes. They don't care. I remember I watched Twilight New Moon, and the rating was 16. I was like, fuck that. I'll say I'm 16. No one asked my ID, and I went and I watched it, and it was 16. But at that point, you were like what? You were like 12, 13.
Yeah, right.
But I watched it. So 16 is good enough to sort of avoid the censors, but also low enough to where everyone can see it.
Yeah.
18 definitely requires an ID. Even like with games, games, alcohol, 18 requires an ID. But 16, you could sort of cheat 16.
Yeah.
And still have some more darker elements.
Yeah. The
that
question
are in
is
service of making the movie better.
Yeah. I mean, because after Batman and Robin, we had movies like X-Men and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, with, those movies being, making that money and being like, oh, superhero movies can be serious. If DC had come out with like a dark and gritty Batman that's like hard R, it would have been, I don't know. I don't want to say it's not what people would want, but like, it's certainly, it would be like out of nowhere.
It would be, exactly. It would certainly be up that alley.
Yeah. Dude, I remember the casting, like some of the names. Like at one point they wanted Clint Eastwood as Batman. Like I'm just like, what? Like Clint Eastwood as Batman? Like just.
And the thing is, Clint Eastwood has been playing a cowboy in many movies all his life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of that thing where he's a good actor, but he's mostly been a cowboy, and now you have to imagine a Batman cowboy, which kind of works. Let's think about it. Clint's glare, that's pretty Bruce Wayne. It's pretty Bruce. Okay, it's pretty Batman. But when Bruce Wayne is not acting as his Bruce Wayne self, it's pretty Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thing is, I couldn't. It's not that I can't see Clint Eastwood as Batman. It's that I can't see Clint Eastwood as Bruce Wayne. That's the thing where I'm like.
That's the thing, because he's a cowboy.
Like, you
can't see Clint cutting loose. He's too serious.
Yeah. Maybe as like the old man Bruce Wayne from Batman Beyond, with like Ted McGinnis out there. Like, sure, he could do that, but just
he would do excellently as a Batman Beyond Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. Like, he's not in the suit throwing punches, but he's like, the guy in the chair, giving directions.
He's advising.
Yeah, he would definitely be that guy.
I think younger Clint, like before his cowboyness, I don't know. Like, I definitely see what you mean. He's way too serious for Bruce.
Yeah.
I definitely see what you mean.
Dude, like, I fucking laughed at another of the names. Like, at one point, they actually called Pierce Brosnan, and they're like, "Do you want to play Batman?" I'm like, what? You called up James Bond to be like, "Do you want to be Batman?"
If Pierce put on a lot of muscle, not a lot, like, just enough, I wouldn't be mad at it. He's definitely more Bruce Wayne than Keaton.
It could have worked. My problem is the accent, though. He doesn't have a thick Irish accent. It's just he's got an accent,
and also it depends on how good his American accent is.
Yeah, that's definitely a sticking point. But hey, it could have worked.
Which probably isn't as good if you've never heard it in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
For the mere fact that he's only taken roles where he maintains being a Welsh British guy. It shows he doesn't have much confidence in his accent.
Yeah, dude, that movie would have been wild though. We know this much. That movie would have been wild if they.
Remember, they also wanted Mel Gibson.
Dude,